Welcome to the podcast, Sandie Docker, and welcome back, Cassie Hammer.
Hi,
Thank
Dani.
you.
We spoke, Cassie, you and I spoke on episode 144 about After the Party. And this is the second group interview I've done. The first was with children's authors Adrian Beck and Tim Harris, and we had a lot of fun. So today we're in our pajamas. For listeners, you can't see us, but we decided to have a pajama party, a virtual one, of course. And for those watching the YouTube clip, here are the books we're going to talk about today. The Banksia Bay Beach Shack and the End of Cuthbert Close. Very exciting. Now, I found these books such wonderful escapism from the news and what we're currently experiencing. But what I wanted to do is have a COVID-19 check-in with you guys. How are you going? Sandie, talk to me. How are you coping with this craziness at the moment?
Yeah, some days are better than others, I have to admit. I find myself kind of oscillating between crying in the fetal position and then being all over it and on top of things, and I'm handling it really well.
That's me in just normal life, though.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, as authors, we're used to being at home by ourselves, so that bit hasn't really changed. But I do have my husband and my daughter at home, and that has made things slightly more challenging.
What about you, Cassie? COVID-19 check-in.
Yeah, so it's called self-isolation, but for writers, it's more like family enforced togetherness time because my usual life is self-isolation. I spend a happy 6 hours a day free of the kids and just quiet and working away. So for me, the big change has definitely been having more people around me, doing the homeschooling thing. And the thing I think that Sandie hasn't mentioned is that she's on a massive deadline to get her next book done. So she's also got that added stress.
Yes, and when husband stands at the door to my library and wants to have a chat in the middle of the day and asks me what I'm doing, and I'm like, I'm writing, I'm working, and he just keeps chatting away. Yeah, it's that escapism that fiction allows you to have. And even though we might deal with some fairly difficult issues within our novels, and I certainly do in mine, it's different to the reality that you're dealing with. And you are almost guaranteed a happy ending with books like Cassie's and mine, or a bittersweet ending, which Cassie and I have discussed before. And so there is that element of control within reading books like this. You know there's going to be happiness, and you know it's only going to last a certain time, and that probably in the end it's actually all going to be okay. And I think that's what people are hanging on to when they're reading fiction like ours.
Important, but these were breaks for me. You know, there were hours and hours of breaks where I didn't have to deal with that demon at the door, that anxiety that's always plaguing me, coupled with what's happening on the outside world. So there were like plenty of hours with these books that I didn't have to deal with that, so it was great. Now, Sandie, give us an elevator pitch for those who haven't read The Banksia Bay Beach Shack. Go.
Yeah, the Banksia Bay Beach Shack is a story of first love and last chances, and the truths and the lies that we tell that can actually affect generations to come. Our protagonist, Laura, discovers that her grandmother's past isn't quite what she thought it was, so she heads to the town of Banksia Bay to try to uncover those secrets, and she finds a very close-knit community that all seem to be hiding something, and she chips away at that and builds some relationships in order to find out the secret of her grandmother's past.
Perfect. You've done that before, haven't you?
Yes. We practice.
She gets better every time.
Cassie, you're up. Elevator pitch.
God, pressure. Jesus. That's a hard act to follow. Okay, so Cuthbert Close, I would say, is a book about food and friendship and backyard intrigue. It was a little bit inspired by Desperate Housewives, but because I do love that show. I loved a lot of 90s melodramas, but they're a bit less, the women in this are a bit less crazy, and there's no talking dead people. So Cuthbert Close is this really idyllic place to live. It's a cul-de-sac where the kids all play together and the parents get together for drinks. And the main characters are three women, Cara, Beth and Alex. They're all mums. They're juggling busy lives. And into this suburban idyll comes a woman called Charlie Devine, and she's the new neighbour, and she causes some serious ructions in the close.
Now, we'll stay with your book for a moment, Cassie. What I really enjoyed about this book was on the surface it explores, you know, the domestic lives of neighbourhood, like you said, a bit desperate housewives with the beautiful, you know, beautiful manicured houses, etc. But beneath that, there are much deeper things at play, and things that we as women and mothers probably deal with often. So explore this for us in the context of your novel.
Yeah, something that I keep coming back to in my writing is motherhood, and how much motherhood has changed my own life, and I think is something that so many women still grapple with, in particular juggling the work-life balance and this constant sense that we're not quite doing it right. So we have Beth, who's a stay-at-home mum. Her kids are now teenagers, and she's feeling quite left behind because her kids don't need her anymore, and her husband, she thinks, might have a bit of a wandering eye. So she's feeling a bit redundant. And then we have Alex, who's the corporate high flyer. She has twins, she has the big career, and so she feels like she's failing her kids because she's not there often enough for them. And then there's Cara, who's the single mum, and she feels a lot of pressure to give her daughter emotional and physical stability, but she has a lot of financial pressures on her because she works in a freelance job. So I think the undercurrent to this book really is the relationships between not just the women as friends, but how the women see themselves as mothers and juggle that role. But the other element that I really had a lot of fun with in this book is in poking a bit of fun at the wellness industry, because Charlie Devine is married to an online wellness guru called Ryan Devine, and he's sort of a voice throughout the story. You get blog posts from Ryan every so often, and he's just that typical online guru with all the buzzwords. Like, he's a bit of a dickhead, really. Like, he's like all this woo-woo
Sandy
stuff.
was just drinking at that point.
Don't spit your tea, Sandie. But I do think there's so much hypocrisy in the wellness industry, and it was just so much fun to take the mickey out of some of it. So Charlie, for instance, is a kangatarian, so she only eats kangaroo meat and vegetables. And for me, it was just amusing, but was making a bit of a point about how hypocritical that industry is and how we can't take it all too seriously.
And how everyone seems to be an expert, not only in that, but in the current issues that we're facing. Apparently everyone online is some sort of scientific genius and knows everything.
Yeah, and we set these people up in that way. We almost want people to have these magic silver bullet solutions for us. So the media talks them up and they're the latest sensation, and we have to listen to everything that they say. But these people, they're just human beings. They're flawed like the rest of us. They know, there are limits to what we know about COVID-19. There are limits to our knowledge about all aspects of life. But we somehow think that these gurus are going to give us all the answers, and it's just not the case.
We're just so optimistic, aren't we? Hoping that someone has that answer.
Yeah. And late. I think we're lazy too.
Maybe lazy.
We just want someone to...
Is there such a thing as optimistically lazy?
Yes, because we don't want to do the work, so we just believe that someone will just give us the answers on a plate. Yep. That's right. Take this supplement, eat this protein bar, and you'll lose all the weight and you'll look 10 years younger.
Oh, sold. Get me some.